The Paris hotel room was modest, but comfortable. The kind of place a mid-level corporate executive stays when the company is footing the bill, but watching expenses. I'd been in France for 3 days, negotiating a crucial merger deal that could make or break my career at Davidson and Associates. The 18-hour days were brutal, but the potential payoff was worth it. My phone had been on silent during the marathon negotiation sessions, but when I finally checked it that Thursday evening, my screen was flooded with notifications. 37 missed calls, 62 text messages. My inbox was overflowing. "What the hell?" I muttered, scrolling through the chaos. Most were from numbers I didn't recognize. But then I saw my mother's name appear 14 times in the call log. My heart seized. Mom never called more than once unless something was catastrophically wrong. The last time she'd called repeatedly like this was when Dad had his heart attack. 5 years ago, I dialed her number with shaking hands, my mind racing through terrible possibilities. Was someone hurt? Was she sick? Had something happened to my brother in Colorado? "Hello," her voice was raw, broken, barely recognizable through the sobbing. "Mom? Mom, it's me. What's wrong?" There was a moment of absolute silence on the other end, then a sound that I can only describe as a wounded animal's cry. "Daniel! Daniel, is that really you?" "Of course it's me, Mom. What's going on? Are you okay?" Oh my God, Daniel, I thought..." She broke down completely, and I could hear my Aunt Karen in the background, also crying, voices overlapping in hysterical relief. "Mom, you're scaring me. What happened?" "Your wife. Rebecca said she posted on Facebook that you were dead, that you died in a car crash in France. Everyone thinks you're dead, Daniel. Everyone." The words didn't compute at first. They bounced off my brain like rubber balls, refusing to sink in with any real meaning. "What? That's impossible. That's insane. Why would she..." "I don't know, baby. I don't know, but there are hundreds of people commenting, sending condolences. I've been crying for 6 hours. Your brother's booking a flight home. Everyone thinks you're gone." My laptop was already open on the desk. With fingers that felt disconnected from my body, I pulled up Facebook and logged into my account, an account I rarely used, maybe checking it once a month to see family photos. The screen that loaded was a nightmare. My wife's page was at the top of my feed, and the post was pinned to ensure maximum visibility. Posted 9 hours ago during my longest negotiation session when my phone had been completely silenced. It is with devastating grief that I announced the tragic death of my beloved husband, Daniel Mercer. He was killed in a horrific car accident in Paris, France, this morning. He was only 34 years old. My heart is shattered into a million pieces. Daniel was the love of my life, my rock, my everything. I don't know how I'll go on without him. Please keep me and our families in your prayers during this impossible time. Below the post were 847 comments and still climbing. But what made my blood run cold wasn't just the post itself. It was Rebecca's responses in the comments, each one a masterpiece of fake grief. Under a comment from my coworker Jim, "Rebecca, I'm so sorry. Such a devastating loss." Rebecca had replied, "Thank you, Jim. Daniel always spoke so highly of you. I wish he'd had more time with the people he loved." I scrolled down, my vision tunneling, nausea rising in my throat. The comments went on and on. Former teachers, distant relatives, business contacts, everyone expressing shock and sympathy. Many people were tagging others to spread the news. Some were sharing the post to their own pages. Then I found it. Buried about 30 comments down, Rebecca's sister, Madison, had written, "Guess he wasn't so smart after all. Should have watched where he was going." The comment had been quickly deleted, but not before 3 people had responded with shocked emojis, and one person had commented, "Madison, that's inappropriate right now." But someone had screenshot it. Another mutual friend had posted it with the caption, "Did anyone else see this before she deleted it? What the actual hell?" I kept scrolling, my hand moving mechanically. That's when I found the donation link. Rebecca had set up a GoFundMe. Help support Rebecca Mercer through this tragedy. The description was even more elaborate than her Facebook post, complete with multiple photos of us together, most of them years old from when we'd actually been happy. As many of you know, my husband Daniel was tragically killed in Paris. Beyond the emotional devastation, I'm now facing enormous financial burdens. The cost of repatriating his body from France is over $15,000. Funeral expenses will be substantial, and I'm left alone to manage our mortgage, bills, and debts. Any contribution, no matter how small, would help me honor Daniel's memory and begin to rebuild my shattered life. Thank you for your love and support during this darkest hour. The fundraiser had raised $23,947 in 9 hours. $23,000. People had donated their hard-earned money because they believed I was dead, because they believed my wife was a grieving widow, because they trusted her. I clicked on the donor list. My mother had donated $500. My brother, $1,000. My boss, $250. Colleagues, friends, neighbors. Even people I barely knew. All opening their wallets to help my widow in her time of need. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely control the mouse. I clicked back to Rebecca's Facebook page and started scrolling through her recent activity. That's when I found the photos from yesterday, less than 24 hours before she'd declared me dead. She was at a restaurant. A nice one, judging by the white tablecloths and wine glasses, but she wasn't alone. A man I'd never seen before sat across from her, his hand reaching across the table to hold hers. The post had been made public for exactly 47 minutes before being deleted, but the internet never forgets. Someone had screenshot that too, and it was making the rounds in a smaller, more gossipy circle of our mutual acquaintances. I zoomed in on the man's face, dark hair, expensive suit, a smug smile that made me want to put my fist through the laptop screen. In the background of one photo, I could make out a bottle of Dom Perignon. On the table, my wife, celebrating her new relationship with champagne that cost more than our weekly grocery budget, while I was across an ocean working 16-hour days to secure our financial future. And now she declared me dead. Not divorced, not separated, dead. I pulled up my banking app with trembling fingers, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Our joint checking account showed a balance of $847. Last week before I'd left for France, there had been over $12,000 in that account, money I'd deposited from my quarterly bonus. The transaction history told the story. Large withdrawals at luxury stores, cash advances at ATMs, a $30,200 charge at a jewelry store 3 days ago, a $1,800 dinner at the same upscale restaurant from her photos. She drained our account while I was working overseas, then declared me dead and started collecting donations From grieving friends and family. My phone buzzed with another call. My brother, Jason. Dan, please tell me Mom isn't losing her mind. Please tell me you're actually alive. I'm alive, Jason. I'm in Paris. I'm completely fine. I don't even own a car here. I've been taking taxis and the metro. Then what the fuck is Rebecca doing? Is this some kind of sick joke? I stared at the screen full of tributes, donations, and fake grief. At my wife's carefully crafted narrative of the loving widow, at the evidence of her affair, her theft, her complete betrayal of everything we'd built together in 7 years of marriage. I don't know what it is yet, I said slowly, my voice sounding strange and distant to my own ears. But it's not a joke. Not to me. After I hung up with Jason, I sat in that Paris hotel room for 3 hours straight, scrolling through the comments, the donations, the tributes. Each one felt like a knife, twisting deeper into my chest. People I loved, people who loved me, were grieving. My mother had cried herself sick. My colleagues were planning a memorial service at the office. My old high school basketball team was organizing a moment of silence at their next game, all because my wife had decided to kill me off. The question that kept circling my mind like a vulture was, why? What could possibly motivate someone to do something so cruel, so public, so irreversibly devastating? Then I thought about the donation money, the drained bank account, the man in the restaurant photo, and the answer crystallized with painful clarity. She wanted to start over. Clean slate. New life. And dead husbands are much less complicated than divorced ones. No alimony, no asset division, no fighting over the house, just sympathetic friends, donation money, and freedom to pursue her new relationship without the messy inconvenience of having me around. She tried to erase me, to write me out of existence, to bury me before I was even cold. But she'd made one critical miscalculation. I was still alive, and I was done being the nice guy. I should have called Rebecca immediately, should have confronted her, demanded explanations, raged at her for the cruelty and insanity of what she'd done. That's what any normal person would do. But I didn't. Instead, I sat in that Paris hotel room as the sun set over the city of light. And I felt something inside me fundamentally change. The Daniel Mercer who had boarded a plane to France 3 days ago, the trusting husband, the hard worker, the man who believed in marriage vows and loyalty, the man was truly dead now. What Rebecca had killed wasn't my body. It was my ability to forgive, to excuse, to make allowances for the person I loved. I called my mother back and spent 2 hours convincing her I was fine, calming her down, assuring her that I would handle this. I did the same with Jason, with my aunt, with my closest friends. Each conversation was exhausting, but each one also sharpened my resolve. "Are you coming home?" my mother asked, her voice still shaky with residual shock. "Are you going to confront her?" "Not yet," I said. "I need to think. I need to understand what's really going on here." What I didn't tell her was that I'd already decided I wasn't going back to that house. Not to the life Rebecca had tried to bury, not to the man I used to be. After the calls, I checked out of my business hotel and found a small apartment in the Marais district. A short-term rental that would give me space to breathe and plan. I told my company I needed to extend my trip to handle some personal matters. My boss, still believing I'd been temporarily dead, was more than accommodating. Take all the time you need, Daniel. This must be so traumatic, having someone spread such a vicious rumor. Is your wife okay? Is she getting help? I almost laughed at that. She's getting exactly what she deserves. That first night in the new apartment, I didn't sleep at all. I sat at a small wooden desk with my laptop, and I began to dig. The Facebook post was just the surface. I created a new anonymous account and started screenshotting everything. The post, every comment, every reaction. The GoFundMe page, including the donor list and every update Rebecca posted. The deleted photo of her with the mystery man. I found multiple copies people had saved and shared. Then I went deeper into our joint accounts, using my passwords to access everything we shared. Bank statements going back 2 years, credit card records, PayPal transactions, Venmo transfers. What I found was breathtaking in its systematic deception. For the past 8 months, Rebecca had been living a double life. The evidence was right there in the transaction records. Once you knew what to look for, regular charges at upscale hotels across the city, expensive dinners at romantic restaurants I'd never been to, purchases at jewelry stores, lingerie boutiques, high-end wine shops, all while I'd been working 10-hour days, sometimes 6 days a week, believing we were saving for a house, for our future, for the family we'd talked about starting. I found Venmo transfers to a name I didn't recognize. Marcus Chen. $300 here, $500 there, sometimes $1,000 at a time. The notes were casual, designed to look innocent. Dinner, or thanks for helping out, or just a heart emoji. Marcus Chen. I pulled up Facebook on my anonymous account and searched the name. Found him on the third try, matching the face from the restaurant photo. His relationship status was listed as single. His profile, full of photos of expensive cars, watches, bottles of premium liquor. The kind of guy who posted inspirational quotes about success and hustling, who took mirror selfies at the gym. The kind of guy Rebecca apparently wanted more than her husband. I dug further. Found their comment exchanges on public posts, flirtatious and increasingly bold. Found tagged photos from 6 months ago at a charity gala I'd been too busy working to attend. Found evidence of Costa Rica trip Rebecca had told me was a girls' weekend with her sister, except Marcus had been posting from the same resort at the same time. The betrayal went so much deeper than I had initially realized. This wasn't some impulsive fling. This was a calculated long-term affair funded by money I'd earned, facilitated by lies I'd believed. And then she'd decided to kill me off rather than face the consequences. As dawn broke over Paris, I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling of my temporary apartment. My eyes were burning with exhaustion, my mind racing with rage and hurt and something else. Something colder and more focused. If they buried me as a joke, let's see how they like it when the dead man rises. But not yet. Not in the way they'd expect. Rebecca thought she'd won. She had her new man, her donation money, her sympathetic friends. She'd removed the obstacle of her boring, hard-working husband without the mess of a divorce. But she'd forgotten something crucial. I was the one who understood money, contracts, legal systems. I was the one who'd built the financial foundation she was now standing on. I was the one with the skills, the discipline, the strategic mind to really plan revenge. She wanted me dead? Fine. I'd stay dead. For now. But I'd use that death to become something more dangerous than she could possibly imagine. The first thing I did was disappear. Completely and systematically. I called my boss and told him I was taking a leave of absence to deal with a personal crisis. The company, understanding given my recent death. Hoax! Approved it immediately. 3 months paid leave, with an option to extend. Then I called my mother and brother and swore them to secrecy. Don't tell anyone you've spoken to me. Don't post anything on Facebook. Don't correct Rebecca's story. Let her think her plan is working. But Dan, Jason protested, she's collecting money under false pretenses. That's fraud. We should call the police. Not yet. I need you to trust me. I'm handling this my way. My mother was harder to convince. Baby, I don't understand. Why are you letting her get away with this? People are grieving for you. It's cruel to let it continue. Mom, she was cruel first. She drained our bank accounts, cheated on me for months, and then tried to erase me from existence. This isn't about being cruel back. It's about making sure she can never do this to anyone else. I spent the next 2 weeks in that Paris apartment, barely leaving except for food, building my case with the precision of an engineer designing a bridge. Every piece had to fit perfectly. Every vulnerability in her story had to be identified and exploited. Step 1, protect my assets. I called our bank and reported suspicious activity on our joint accounts, which was true. I provided evidence of Rebecca's excessive spending and requested an immediate freeze on all accounts where I was a primary holder. The bank, concerned about potential fraud, complied with our insurance. Our joint checking account frozen, our savings account frozen, the credit cards in my name canceled. Rebecca would wake up tomorrow unable to access any of our shared funds. Good. Let her try to explain that to Marcus. Step 2, document everything. I hired a private investigator through an American firm that operated internationally. His name was Michael Torres, a former NYPD detective who specialized in infidelity and fraud cases. I sent him everything I'd found, the Facebook posts, the transaction records, the photos, the Venmo transfers. I need you to find out everything about Marcus Chen, I told him over an encrypted video call. His financial situation, his employment history, his relationship history, any criminal record. I need to know if my wife has been giving him money, where they've been meeting, how long this has really been going on. And the GoFundMe? Michael asked, his weathered face serious on my screen. That's fraud, Mr. Mercer. Clear-cut donation fraud. You could have her arrested right now. I want more than an arrest. I want her entire web of lies exposed. Can you trace where the donated money is going? If she's moving it, I can find it. Give me 2 weeks. I also hired a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Samantha Rodriguez, a cutthroat divorce attorney known for destroying unfaithful spouses in court. Her consultation fee alone was $500, but her reputation was worth every penny. Mr. Mercer, she said when I explained the situation, this is one of the most egregious cases I've encountered in 20 years of practice. Your wife has committed multiple felonies. Fraud, identity theft, potentially forgery if she's been signing documents in your name. We can bury her legally. I want to do this right, I told her. I want every charge documented, every law she broke prosecuted, every dollar she stole recovered, and I want to make sure she can't claim she was confused or didn't understand what she was doing. That means we wait Let her dig the hole deeper. The longer she maintains this lie, the worse it looks for her. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Step 3, rebuild myself. Here's what Rebecca didn't know about my trip to France. I wasn't just negotiating a merger. I was being courted by a European investment firm looking to expand into American markets. They wanted someone with my expertise in financial systems and international business law. The offer had come 2 weeks before I left for France. I hadn't mentioned it to Rebecca because I hadn't decided if I was interested. The position would mean relocating to Paris, or at least spending significant time there. It would mean uprooting our life, but I didn't have that life anymore. Rebecca had killed it. I set up a meeting with the firm's managing partners, 3 sharp-minded individuals who'd been watching my career with interest. Over dinner, at a restaurant overlooking the Seine, I laid my cards on the table. I'm interested in your offer, but my situation has changed. I'm going through a divorce. It's complicated, and it's going to be public and ugly. I need to know if that's a problem for you. The senior partner, an elegant woman named Marie-Claude Beaumont, smiled. Mr. Mercer, we're French. We invented complicated divorces. As long as you can do the work, your personal life is your concern. The offer was extraordinary. Double my current salary, equity in the firm, an apartment in Paris, and the freedom to build a new division focused on transatlantic investments. It was the kind of opportunity that comes once in a lifetime. I accepted on the spot. Over the next month, I threw myself into my new position with manic energy, 16-hour days, learning French corporate law, building relationships with European clients, establishing myself in a world where Rebecca's lies couldn't touch me. I also started working out hard. The gym became my sanctuary, a place where I could channel rage into something productive. Every lifted weight was a piece of my old life falling away. Every mile I ran was distance from the man I used to be. I cut my hair shorter, bought new clothes that fit better, started eating differently, sleeping better, focusing on becoming a different version of myself. If I was going to rise from the dead, I was going to rise transformed. Meanwhile, Michael Torres was sending me updates weekly, each one more damning than the last. Week 1. Marcus Chen works in luxury car sales but barely makes 6 figures. He's heavily in debt. $80K in credit cards. Lease on an Audi he can't afford. Gambling problem at local casinos. Your wife has been bankrolling his lifestyle for months. Week 2. The GoFundMe money is being spent. Your wife withdrew $8,000 in cash 3 days after your death. Another $5,000 went to pay off Marcus's credit card. $3,000 to a luxury resort in the Bahamas. Flights booked for her and Marcus next month. Week 3. She's already talking about selling your house. Found a realtor, started getting appraisals. She told the realtor she needs to sell quickly because she can't afford the mortgage alone. Of course, she's planning to keep all the equity. Week 4. The affair started 9 months ago at a car dealership where Marcus works. He sold her a BMW. Using your money for the down payment, by the way. They've been meeting at hotels twice a week, sometimes more. I've got photos, receipts, testimony from hotel staff who recognize them. Every update made me angrier, but also more focused. Rebecca wasn't just a cheating wife. She was a calculating thief who'd been systematically robbing me while playing the role of loving spouse. And she'd tried to erase me to cover her tracks. By the end of 3 months, I had everything. A complete dossier of her affair, her fraud, her theft, every lie documented, every crime cataloged, every dollar traced. I also had a new life, a new career, a new purpose. The old Daniel Mercer really was dead. But what rose in his place was so much more dangerous. It was time to go home. I returned to the United States on a Tuesday in October, exactly 3 months and 4 days after my wife had declared me dead. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I just boarded a plane, flew into JFK, and took a train to Connecticut. The first place I went wasn't home. It was Samantha Rodriguez's office in downtown Hartford. "You look different," she said, standing to shake my hand. "Good. Different. I am different. Do we have everything we need?" She patted a thick accordion file on her desk. "Your investigator is thorough. We have enough to put her away for years if the prosecutor decides to throw the book at her." "What charges are we looking at?" "Wire fraud for the GoFundMe campaign. That's federal. Theft, fraud, identity theft on the state level. If she signed any documents claiming to be your widow or executor, that's forgery. She's potentially looking at 10 to 15 years. I felt a grim satisfaction settle over me. And the divorce? With this evidence of adultery and financial misconduct, you'll get everything. The house, your retirement, accounts, any shared assets. She'll be lucky to leave with her clothes. I want to do this publicly. I want everyone who donated money, everyone who believed her lies, everyone who mourned me, I want them all to see exactly what she did." Samantha smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant smile. "I was hoping you'd say that." But I wasn't ready to confront Rebecca directly. Not yet. First, I needed to set the stage. I had Michael Torres deliver a package to Marcus Chen's employer, the luxury car dealership where he worked. Inside was a comprehensive dossier documenting how Marcus had been using company resources to facilitate his affair, including test driving expensive cars to impress my wife, using the dealership's resort partnerships to book romantic getaways, and generally conducting his personal business on company time. Marcus was fired 3 days later. According to Michael's sources, the termination was immediate and humiliating. Security escorted him from the building with his personal belongings in a box. Then, I had my lawyer's office send a letter to the realtor Rebecca had been working with, informing them that any sale of our jointly owned property would be contested and potentially fraudulent, as I, the supposedly dead husband, was very much alive and had not consented to any sale. The realtor called Rebecca immediately. I know because Michael had been monitoring her phone calls. According to his report, she screamed at the realtor for 15 minutes, insisted it was all a mistake, claimed I must have hired someone to impersonate me. Her panic was delicious. Next, I contacted the local police department and filed a formal complaint about the GoFundMe fraud. I provided all the evidence, the false death claim, the donation records, proof of how the money had been spent. The detective who took my statement literally did a double take when I walked in. "Mr. Mercer, Daniel Mercer, but we thought you were dead." "Yeah, my wife hoped so, too." The detective, a sharp-eyed woman named Laura Chen, no relation to Marcus, thankfully was fascinated by her case. "This is sophisticated fraud, Mr. Mercer. Your wife is going to face serious charges." "Good, but I want to control the timing of her arrest. Can you give me a week?" She frowned. "That's unusual. Why would you want to wait?" "Because I want her to fall completely apart before you take her in. I want her to understand that everything, Her life, her freedom, her reputation is slipping away, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. Detective Chen studied me for a long moment. You've changed. This isn't just about justice for you anymore, is it? My wife tried to kill me, socially, financially, personally. She succeeded in a way. The man I was before, he's gone. What I am now, let's just say I've learned that vengeance, done correctly, is its own form of justice. She nodded slowly. 1 week. But after that, I have to move forward with the case, whether you're ready or not. 1 week is all I need. The final piece of my plan was the most public and most devastating. Rebecca's family, her parents, her sister Madison, various aunts and uncles, were hosting a memorial service for me. It was scheduled for Saturday afternoon at their country club. An elegant affair to celebrate my life and support my grieving widow. According to the Facebook event page, over 200 people had RSVP'd. There would be photo displays, a memory table where people could share stories, catered food, and an open bar. Rebecca had even hired a string quartet, all funded by the donation money people had given in my name. I contacted the country club manager directly and explained the situation, providing proof of my identity and the fraud. He was horrified and more than willing to cooperate with my plan. Mr. Mercer, this is outrageous. Your wife has been planning this event for weeks, crying on the phone about how difficult this all is. To think it's all been a lie, not just a lie, a calculated performance, and it's about to have its final act. Saturday afternoon came with perfect autumn weather, bright sun, crisp air, leaves turning gold and crimson. Perfect weather for a memorial service. Perfect weather for a resurrection. I arrived at the country club at exactly 2 o'clock when the memorial service was scheduled to begin. Michael Torres was with me, along with Samantha Rodriguez and a camera crew I'd hired to document everything. Detective Chen had agreed to attend in plain clothes, ready to make arrests if necessary. We parked in the back lot and entered through the kitchen, the manager personally escorting us through the service corridors. I could hear the string quartet playing something mournful in the main ballroom. They're all in there, the manager whispered. Your wife is in the foyer, greeting guests. She's wearing black, of course, and she's been crying on and off all morning. Quite the performance. It's about to be her final one. We positioned ourselves in a side hallway with a clear view of the main entrance. I watched as people arrived, dressed in dark suits and somber dresses, my colleagues from work, neighbors, friends I hadn't seen in years, all coming to mourn me. My mother was there, her face rigid with the effort of maintaining the charade I'd asked her to keep. Jason was beside her, his hand on her shoulder. They knew what was about to happen, and I could see my mother's barely suppressed excitement. And there, in the center of it all, was Rebecca. She looked stunning, I had to admit. Black dress that probably cost $800, tasteful jewelry, hair and makeup perfect. She was accepting condolences with practiced grace, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief, letting people embrace her. He was the love of my life. I heard her tell a cluster of sympathetic friends. I just don't know how I'll go on without him. Marcus Chen was nowhere to be seen. According to Michael's last report, Marcus had cut off all contact with Rebecca after being fired, blaming her for ruining his career. Apparently, being the other man was only fun when it came with financial benefits. The memorial service began at 2:15. Everyone moved into the main ballroom where chairs had been arranged in rows facing a podium. Behind the podium was the enormous photo of me, a professional headshot from my company website, blown up to poster size. A slideshow played on multiple screens, showing highlights of my life. Childhood photos, college graduation, wedding pictures. My brother had provided most of them, carefully curating the presentation to look authentic, while knowing the whole time I was alive and planning this moment. Rebecca took the podium first, trembling dramatically as she approached the microphone. The room fell silent, except for the occasional sniffle. "Thank you all for coming today to celebrate the life of my beloved husband, Daniel," she began, her voice breaking convincingly. 3 months ago, I received the worst phone call of my life. The call that told me Daniel had been killed in a car crash in Paris, far from home, far from the people who loved him. She paused, pressing the handkerchief to her eyes. Several people in the audience openly cried. Daniel was an incredible man, hard-working, loyal, devoted to his family. He always put others first, always sacrificed his own needs for those he loved. He was building a beautiful life for us, working so hard to secure our future. And now that future is gone, stolen by a senseless tragedy. I'd heard enough. I nodded to Samantha, who signaled the camera crew to start recording. Then I walked into the ballroom. The first person to see me was Mrs. Henderson, our elderly neighbor, who'd baked cookies for us every Christmas. Her mouth fell open, the cookie she'd been eating tumbling from her fingers to the floor. She grabbed her husband's arm, pointing wordlessly at me. Then others noticed. The ripple effect spread through the room like electricity. Gasps, shouts. Someone screamed. Chairs scraped as people stood up, convinced they were seeing a ghost. Rebecca was still at the podium, her back to the entrance, lost in her performance. Daniel taught me what true love means. Funny, I said loudly, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. I was about to say the same thing about you teaching me what true betrayal means. Rebecca spun around and the color drained from her face so completely I thought she might faint. Her mouth opened and closed silently like a fish drowning in air. "Hello, Rebecca. Miss me?" The room exploded into chaos. People were shouting questions, surging toward me, some crying with relief, others demanding explanations. But I only had eyes for my wife. She was frozen at the podium, one hand gripping the microphone stand like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Her carefully applied makeup couldn't hide the abject terror in her eyes. You're supposed to be, stammered. "Dead?" I finished, walking slowly down the center aisle toward her. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. "Yes, I'm supposed to be dead." "You made quite sure everyone believed that, didn't you? The Facebook post, the GoFundMe, this touching memorial service. You really committed to the bit." I can explain." "Can you?" I climbed the steps to the podium platform, and Rebecca backed away from me like I was carrying a plague. "Can you explain why you told 200 people I died in a car crash when I was perfectly alive? Can you explain where the $28,000 in donation money went? Can you explain who Marcus Chen is, and why you've been paying his bills for 8 months?" Her face, already pale, went gray. "How did you know?" "Because I'm not dead, Rebecca. I've been in Paris, very much alive, watching you destroy my reputation and rob the people who loved me. And I've been building a case." I turned to address the crowd which had gone completely silent. Every eye was locked on us. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but I felt it was important you all see this. 3 months ago, my wife declared me dead while I was on a business trip in Paris. Not missing, not injured, perfectly fine and working. She fabricated an entire story about a car crash, posted it on Facebook, and then set up a fundraiser to profit from your grief and generosity. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the presentation system. The slideshow of my life disappeared, replaced by screenshots I'd prepared. This is her Facebook post, claiming I died in a horrific car accident. This is the GoFundMe page, where she collected $28,000 from grieving friends and family. And this, I clicked to the next slide, is a bank statement showing how she spent that money. $8,000 cash withdrawal, $5,000 to pay off her boyfriend's credit card debt, $3,000 for a romantic vacation to the Bahamas with said boyfriend. The room erupted again. People were shouting, some at Rebecca, some at me, some just shouting in general confusion and outrage. I saw several people pulling out their phones, presumably to check if they'd donated. "Daniel, please!" Rebecca finally found her voice, though it came out as a desperate whine. "You don't understand. I was confused. I made mistakes. You were confused?" My voice cut through her excuses like a blade. "For 3 months, you were confused when you posted condolence responses to people mourning me? When you told my mother—" I gestured to where my mother stood, tears streaming down her face. "That her son was dead? When you planned this memorial service, hired a string quartet, and stood at that podium pretending to grieve?" I clicked to another slide. Photos of Rebecca and Marcus Chen at restaurants, hotels, walking hand in hand through Central Park. Michael Torres had done excellent work. This is Marcus Chen, Rebecca's boyfriend of 9 months. She's been using our joint bank accounts to fund their relationship, while I worked 60-hour weeks to support our marriage. She spent over $30,000 of our money on hotel rooms, dinners, jewelry for him, paying off his gambling debts. Rebecca's sister Madison stood up from her seat, her face red with either shame or anger. I couldn't tell which. "Rebecca, what the hell? You told us Daniel was really dead. You cried on the phone to Mom for hours." I thought... Rebecca was crying now. Real tears this time, not the practiced performance from before. "It felt like he was dead. Our marriage was dead. I just wanted to move on. I didn't think..." "You didn't think I'd find out because you expected me to actually be gone," I finished coldly. "You wanted me out of your life permanently, but divorce is messy and expensive. Much easier to kill me off, collect some sympathy money, and start fresh with your boyfriend. Except your boyfriend was only interested in you as long as you were funding his lifestyle. Where is Marcus today, Rebecca? Why isn't he here supporting his grieving girlfriend?" Her face crumpled. "He broke up with me. After you froze the accounts. After he got fired. He said I ruined his life. Interesting how that works, isn't it? You tried to ruin mine, and it boomeranged back on you instead." Detective Chen chose that moment to step forward from the crowd, showing her badge. "Mrs. Mercer, I'm Detective Laura Chen with the Hartford Police Department. I need you to come with me. You're being charged with wire fraud, donation fraud, identity theft, and several other charges related to your false death claim and the GoFundMe campaign." Rebecca's knees actually buckled. She grabbed the podium to keep from falling. No, please, I'll give the money back. I'll fix this. Please don't arrest me. You'll have an opportunity to address these charges in court, Detective Chen said firmly, producing handcuffs. Right now, you need to come with me. As Detective Chen led Rebecca away, handcuffs glinting in the soft ballroom lighting, my wife's sobs echoing off the walls, I turned back to the assembled crowd. I apologize to everyone who donated money believing they were helping a widow in need. My lawyer will be contacting each of you about refunds. I apologize to everyone who grieved for me, who changed their profile pictures, who planned memorial services at their workplaces and schools. You were all victims of an elaborate fraud, and I'm truly sorry for the pain it caused. My mother pushed through the crowd and threw her arms around me, sobbing into my shoulder. My baby, my boy, I knew you were okay, but seeing you here, seeing her finally exposed, it's over, Mom. It's finally over. My brother Jason was next, pulling me into a fierce hug. That was the most badass thing I've ever seen. I'm sorry you had to go through this, but damn, Dan, you played it perfectly. People crowded around me, some wanting to hug me, some wanting explanations, some just wanting to touch me to confirm I was real. I saw tears of relief, confusion, anger at Rebecca, joy that I was alive. It was overwhelming. But through it all, I kept my eyes on Rebecca being escorted out of the ballroom. She looked back once, our eyes meeting across the chaos. In that moment, I saw everything. Her realization of what she'd lost, her terror of what was coming, her understanding that she'd destroyed her own life, trying to destroy mine. I felt no pity, only cold satisfaction. The arrest was just the start. By evening, the story exploded. Woman declares husband dead, gets arrested at his memorial service. It spread from local news to international headlines. Rebecca's tear-streaked mugshot flooded the internet. The comments were brutal. How sick do you have to be to fake your husband's death? She deserves everything coming. The legal fallout was swift. Federal prosecutors charged her with wire fraud, up to 20 years. The state added fraud, theft, and identity theft. Samantha Rodriguez filed for my divorce the next Monday. She's not even fighting it, Samantha said. Good, I replied. She gets nothing, not a penny. The house sold within a month. I kept the $180,000 profit. Every trace of her gone. The GoFundMe was frozen, then refunded. Some donors told me to keep their money. I donated it all to fraud and abuse victims. It felt like justice. Marcus left one voicemail, long, apologetic, pathetic. I never called back. He was just a tool. The disease was Rebecca. 8 months later, I flew from Paris to face her in court. The prosecution tore her apart. Facebook posts, GoFundMe data, donor testimonies, phone recordings of her laughing about the scam. The defense tried claiming mental breakdown. It collapsed instantly. The jury needed only 4 hours. Guilty on every count. Rebecca stood frozen as verdicts echoed through the courtroom. Her mother wept. Her sister stared ahead. I felt nothing. Just quiet vindication. 2 weeks later, the judge spoke sharply. You didn't just steal money. You stole grief. You attempted to erase your husband from existence. Then came the sentence. 9 years. Rebecca crumpled as the bailiff led her away. 9 years. Gone. Exactly what she'd tried to do to me.